Let's move on to anthropology, legacy, and cultural continuity. Anthropologically speaking, oral storytelling preserves identity across generations. Do you see your YouTube work as a modern extension of oral tradition, Evan? You have two YouTube channels, right?
Yes, definitely. I think it's an like kind of evolving from the traditional system, because I guess my generation, I don't know what they call it, Generation X or Y. Right now we have Gen Z, and Gen Z are more exposed to maybe like a lot of rubbish that's on the internet, and they could be more focused and obsessed on that. And so our work is to bring them away from there, because we are like the link to the previous generation, the values that they instilled, the discipline, the toughness. And for this generation, I think they're a bit soft. Yeah, so the work we do with content creation is important. And one thing I'm learning also is not to put content out there just for the sake of it, then make sure there's quality in it, maybe with the graphics we use and all that,
What
to be more
legacy do
appealing.
you hope your children inherit from you beyond material success?
The legacy I hope my children get from me, like for my dad, when he was as a broadcaster, there was a video that they shot, and I don't have it right now because we had the videotape. And when I look back at it, like it gives me that sense of pride that even back then, like my dad could do that. And so putting it into my perspective is just fighting the good fight, living the good life that my children could can go back and like just being exposed to them this past couple of years. I've seen them really evolve quicker than they did. A lot of things that I learned from my studies, I've taught them, and I think they would be proud of it as long as I know that I'm doing the right thing and that they could share with, say, my grandchildren. I already have one right now, so yeah, uh, I think it will have a big impact on them.
And what does legacy mean to you personally?
To me, legacy is, for example, when my dad and mom passed, they left the house with us. And just recently, because we've also gone bigger, the family has gone bigger, we had to leave the house. And for me, that was like a legacy that my parents left behind, like an inheritance. But that's like material wise. For me, legacy would be living a good life that is that my family would be proud of, that my kids could look up to and say that even though it was a tough life, that I succeeded. And another thing I also wrote down, hopefully it's in line with this question, is through my self-help reading and all that, I came across something where you write your own obituary. And for me, that would be like my legacy, having the courage to write down how people would remember me.
And if future generations watch your videos decades from now, what do you hope they understand about this moment in PNG history?
Yes, I would like them to, with the kind of work that I've been led into, which is like at the broader level in society, being involved in politics in the background. I hope that with the videos that we do now, people can look back after 20, 30, maybe 50 years and say, oh, the place used to look like this before, like it was so underdeveloped, and now it's like this. And like that would have that transformation on kind of on record. for the future generations to see. And maybe also not physically, but mentally, the way we think and that sort of thing.
And how should indigenous knowledge systems coexist with formal academic education?
Yes, they can peacefully coexist. In countries, the way I see it, like for example in China or in countries where they don't speak English, they teach in their languages. And I really don't see any harm in like villages teaching in their local language. And maybe that sort of teaching could be documented, like because we're in the modern world and to gain an advantage, like when we grow up and if we get involved in dealing internationally, we have to speak the same language as the international what on the international scene. Like for example, um, I'm sure Portugal has its own language,
Mhm.
and for you to also speak English fluently, like that is amazing.
Well, my mother is British, so it helped a little bit.
Yeah,
And I was born French, so I speak French, and my French accent is always coming back in every languages. I,
wow,
s- but
yeah,
it helped, and so I studied in France, and in France, English was the first language. So
oh
I guess it helped. The academic system helped there, or here in
yeah,
Europe, at least. Portuguese, they speak very well English as well,
yeah,
because at a very early age, they have subtitles, English subtitles on TV.
yes,
So it helped as well, I guess.
yeah. For us
Um,
here in PNG, English, like I said, my dad never wanted me to speak top Pisin,
mhm.
and my mom was not that good of a like multilingual type. So my other aunties picked up my dad's language, and my mom didn't. And I think that also flowed down to me. But I think my problem is because of the talk Pisin. Sometimes I can stutter a bit.
And what do you
Uh,
think? My grandma was from Prague. She was Czechoslovakian. And my father was Portuguese. He passed away, as I told you. And
yeah,
so with my father, it was a long, hard journey because I never learned Portuguese. I learned Portuguese when I was a kid during, holidays, and that's it. And by
yeah,
listening to people. But my
yeah.
grandma used to say she spoke 6 languages, and she used to say that we have a brain for each language. And I really believe it. I mean, when I speak
Mm,
English, even my voice changed. And if
really?
eu agora vou falar um pouco de português, também o som da minha voz vai mudar. Et si je vous parle en français maintenant, eh ben, c'est complètement différent. Je suis peut-être bien plus à l'aise parce que c'est plus naturel. There is
Mm,
something, that changes in the mind as well, in
mm.
our nervous system, I would say. What do you think of that?
I really think that like that's quite profound. I thought I was going to use those words more in the interview, like deep and profound as compared to shallow. And like we learn something new every day. So I think I'm learning something new. Like back in the day, I, I started this fish business in the early 2000s, and I'd take it home to my dad's. I'd go back to my dad's village. Growing up, we did learn. My grandma always spoke. She couldn't speak in English, but I never really knew her. She got sick by the time I was growing up. But my parents always spoke in like my dad's language, my aunties, my uncles, and my dad. And I grew up listening to it. I couldn't even, I can't even speak it to this day. But when I went home to bring fish over, I was picking it up and I can listen to it. But now I know that there's one, it's like a different brain, right?
It
And
is.
I've also
Even
tried my
what
best.
wisdom, what wisdom from village life should never be lost?
Yes, the wisdom from village life that I really think it comes back to our values, like respect, having respect for our elders. And that part, I think it should never be lost. The other thing is hard work, especially I paid a visit to the village a year ago, and because I'm kind of a clean freak, I like cleaning places up when I get bored. I actually clean. It's like my when I was cleaning the place, I thought, I hope my ancestors are looking down at me, smiling, and those are the things that we should never lose sight of, and especially to do it literally, because that shows like what's inside of us. And right now here in PNG, that's also a big problem. So I would think that those values that are associated with that, respect, um, cleanliness, and those things I mentioned, they should never be lost.
And if you could preserve one cultural value forever with PNG, what would it be? Cultural value.
Mhm. I think that one would be easy. If I'm talking about cultural, something that we value culturally, it would be language. Maybe it goes back to one talk. Yeah, if language can be preserved, then everything else is all documented. Like at school, people learn traditional dances and that, but it would be the language that we hope doesn't die out. Well, I hope personally.
I guess language is everything about communication, how we can understand the other. One talk to me, and
Yes.
that leads to more tolerance. And I guess there is a
Yeah.
disunion in our world, global issues, global wars, because of a lack of communication, understanding
Yes.
the other, but understanding comes from listening. So language as a silence maybe should be cultivated more often. Listen
Yeah.
to the other to
Very
understand
true.
yourself better and get back within in a way.
Yeah. Another deep, profound thing you just mentioned, that listening should be a language itself.